If you have Lyme disease and feel like nobody actually understands what you're going through, I want to tell you my story because I think you're going to recognize a lot of it. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the one thing I wish somebody had told me when I was at my lowest. The thing that changed everything eventually, but it won't mean anything unless you hear how I got there first. So let me take you back. It started with arthritis in my hands, my knuckle joints. They were diagnosed as psoriatic arthritis, and that started me on treatments. When those treatments worked, they worked great for about 6 months. Then they'd wear off and I'd end up in a worse place than I was before. So they'd double the dose, and that would work for a little while, and then it would wear off again. Every cycle I was taking a step down and backwards. And then those drugs gave me melanoma. That was my line. I went back to my rheumatologist and he said, let's just try another drug in the same class and hope for the best. And I remember sitting there and thinking, hope for the best? That's a plan? That's when I started looking into alternate health. I was desperate. I was willing to try anything, but I was still sick, and I was sick for many years. And then things started getting worse in ways nobody could even explain. I developed a stiffness in the back of my legs. I felt like I'd just gotten done running an ultramarathon. I couldn't even stretch them out. They were just always stiff, always tight, and no doctor had an answer for it. Then came foot pain, and I can't overstate how bad this was. I couldn't get out of bed in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom without putting on shoes first. I mean, the bottoms of my feet felt like they were beaten with a meat hammer. That's the only way I can really describe it. Every single step was excruciating. I'd shuffle across the floor in the dark, wincing, just trying to get to the toilet and back. Then neuropathy and crushing fatigue and brain fog. And the fatigue was its own kind of hell. I'd wake up in the morning, and before I even opened my eyes, I knew what kind of day it was going to be. My body would tell me before I asked. I just lay there taking inventory. Okay, how bad is it today? Some days just sitting up and swinging my legs over the side of the bed felt like an accomplishment. I'd sit there with my elbows on my knees, head in my hands, just trying to will myself awake, and it just wouldn't happen. So then I would negotiate with myself. Just get to the bathroom. Don't think about the whole day. Just get to the bathroom. Because even that felt like a project. But to be honest, the brain fog was the one that scared me the most. Because I was working in corporate America, I would be sitting in meetings with people and I couldn't track what they were saying. I'd be looking right at someone and the words would just wash over me like nothing stuck. I'd try to contribute something, and halfway through my sentence, I'd lose it, just gone. And I'd have to play it off like I was distracted or multitasking. And early on, I could get away with the excuse, but after a while, I'm sure no one was buying it. So then I started abusing coffee, just trying to get my head above the fog. And there was like this narrow window. If I drank enough, I could maybe get like an hour of semi-clarity before the overcaffeination made me a complete jittery mess. I was basically trying to find that sweet spot between brain dead and shaking. And after a while, even that stopped working for me. No amount of coffee could get me there. Now here's the thing, and I didn't understand this for years. There was a biological reason all of this was happening. It wasn't burnout. It wasn't aging. It wasn't in my head. Something was going on at the cellular level, and I'm gonna come back to that because it connects to everything. But meanwhile, I was trying every diet you can think of. I mean, supplements, protocols, nothing moved the needle. Then my doctor tested me and told me I had Lyme disease and Bartonella. I didn't believe him. I told him, I've never been bitten by a tick. I've never had that bullseye rash. There's just no way. And he had to sit me down and explain to me that they'd found the DNA of these bacteria in my urine. It was there. It was real, whether I remembered a tick bite or not. And to be honest, there was no tick bite. I believe I got mine from a feral cat. When I started searching Lyme and Bartonella, it got even scarier because there was no clear treatment options. I'd go online looking for answers and find tens of different people saying tens of different things. I mean, antibiotics, herbs, ozone, rife machines, diets. Some people were swearing by one approach that saved their life, and someone else was saying the same approach nearly destroyed them. So then I got into online groups. Other people, they were dealing with the same diagnoses, and the mood was pretty dark. A lot of people have been sick for years. A lot were hopeless. And there were not a lot of success stories in these groups. And the ones who did seem to be getting better, nobody could agree on why. I went to Lyme literate doctors. Some of them, honestly, I think were more interested in my wallet than my health. I was running up bills on tests and treatments, and I was just too desperate and too foggy to ask questions. Other doctors, I think, were well-meaning and generally trying to help, but what they recommended just didn't move the needle. I was scared. I was watching my life slowly blink out, and I didn't know what to do about it. Along the way, I lost contact with a lot of friends. Even family pulled back. Or maybe I pulled back from them. It's hard to know which, to be honest. When I did talk to people, they tried to empathize. It actually made things worse because their advice just showed how wide the gap was between their understanding and my reality. Have you tried yoga? Maybe you should try to rest more. My cousin had something like that and just changed her diet. They meant well, every single one of them. But the gap was so wide that their attempts to connect actually made me feel more alone, not less. And the whole time, this is the part nobody talks about, my entire life had become about managing what I call the ceremonies. You know, the ceremonies of being sick. I was on a Buhner protocol for Lyme and Bartonella. If you know, you know. Plus half the extended herbs. I was making my own coconut milk kefir, my own water kefir, my own sauerkraut. I was on this autoimmune paleo diet for years. No gluten, no dairy, no grains, no seeds, no nuts, no fruit. I couldn't just grab food at the store. Everything had to be made from scratch. I was doing coffee enemas, ozone therapy, cupping, wet cupping. I accidentally scarred myself doing moxibustion. My neighbor probably thought I was out there burning a joint. I was doing infrared saunas, PEMF, rife treatments, cold laser therapy, colonics, parasite cleanses, liver flushes. I was taking so many supplements that my counter looked like a pharmacy that exploded on it. We're talking CoQ10, glutathione, NAC, every form of magnesium you can think of, glandulars, enzymes, adaptogens, colloidal silver, homeopathics, amino acids. I was nebulizing liposomal glutathione. I was doing rectal essential oil suppositories. I was drinking turpentine and sugar. I tried ivermectin. I tried an animal dewormer whose name I still can't remember. I could go on. The list is honestly embarrassing at this point. But that's what desperation does. You'll try anything. My whole day revolved around the ceremonies of trying not to be sick. And I watched other people in the Lyme community doing the exact same thing, protocols that lasted hours every day. And eventually, most of them burned out of the protocols and just quit. I see the same pattern today with people doing hyperbaric oxygen. They'll tell me, I did 30 sessions and it helped a ton. I really need to get back to it. And they never do. Because each session's expensive and you spend 90 minutes inside a chamber at a doctor's office. And by the time you factor in driving and waiting, it's a 2 or 3 hour ordeal. Nobody can sustain that. And then on top of all the time and money I was pouring into treatments, there was the guilt because I didn't have time for my friends or family. And even when I did have a sliver of time, I didn't have the energy to be present. I'd be sitting at dinner with people I loved and I wasn't really there. So I was sick, exhausted, broke, isolated, and then I was guilty on top of all that. My emotional health was crumbling on top of everything else, and I was so scared. And nobody around me truly realized how bad it was. That was probably my darkest stretch. But I'm telling you all this because that's not where the story ends. Here's what I eventually realized after going through all of this. I wasn't failing. I wasn't doing something wrong. I missed something more fundamental, something underneath all those protocols and supplements and treatments. There was a reason for my energy budget never balancing. That's what I finally found. Something was happening at my cellular level, and once I addressed it, it made everything else start to work. And to be honest, even when I found it, I didn't believe in it. I tried so many things at that point, and nothing worked. Why would this be any different? It took me months to start believing, but the results kept showing up, and they kept building. And after about a year, I walked into my doctor's office and he was shocked. He couldn't believe the turnaround. He asked me what was going on. And when I told him, he asked me if I could create the same setup for his patients. Today, I have no energy problems. A few years ago, I had one of those moments where I stepped back and realized I was working full-time in corporate America. I was running a business by myself, helping someone close to me launch another business, and coaching my kids' wrestling team all at the same time. And I had energy to spare. I mean, now coming from where I'd been, the feet pain, the fog, the ceremonies, the fear, that was almost hard to believe. I had made a promise to myself when I was at my lowest. I said, if I ever found a way out of this, I would try to help other people who are still in it. That's why I'm making this video. Not to tell you I have all the answers, just to let you know that there's someone out there that actually gets it. Someone who's been through the worst of it, I mean, the isolation, the doubts, the guilt, the doctors who gaslit us and didn't listen, the treatments that didn't work, and the days where getting to the bathroom felt like a victory. If you're in a dark place right now, I need you to hear this. It can get better. I'm living proof that it can get better. And if you want to hear what I actually did, the specific thing that changed everything for me, I'll walk you through it in my next video. But for now, just know that you're not crazy, you're not lazy, and you're not alone in this. I've been where you are, and there is a way forward. Thank you for listening.